everyone, welcome to today's live.
Hi everyone, good evening. Hope you all are doing well, and I welcome you all to the Money Hour with Lakshmi. We are your money coaches here. So I am Priya Agrawal, and we have Chanchal Saxena with us. We are from Team Lakshmi, and if you are tuning in for the first time, let me give you a brief about Lakshmi. Lakshmi is India's first financial platform exclusively for women, and we conduct these Money Hour sessions to help you take charge of your finances. So, in this episode of Money Hour, we are going to talk about EPF, PPF, and the other retirement instruments. So, this session is a continuation of our previous session where we planned to, complete all those retirement government backed instruments, but we couldn't due to the constraint of time. But in this session, we are going to cover everything in detail and hope to answer all your questions here. So, thank you so much. I'm going to
We
pass on the
already
mic
have
to Chanchal.
people. We already have people commenting. Hi Pragya. Hi Amrita. We have a Lakshmi handle ready to take charge and ask away all the questions here. Hello, everybody. And like Priya mentioned, today's session is a continuation, and I hope this time we cover everything in time. Because I remember we got a comment recently which said that guys, will you be able to cover EPF, PPF, and the other things together? And we said we'll try, we'll do our best to do it. So, without
Yeah.
any further ado, without wasting any time, let's deep dive into it. Like our previous session, we are going to keep it straight. We're going to keep it cut to the point. We'll cut the chase and ensure that everything is covered. So, the first topic we're going to take over is PPF. So, Priya, the main question: what is PPF? What are the features of PPF?
All right. So, answering your question, firstly, let's understand what PPF stands for. So, PPF stands for Public Provident Fund. So, it's like a long term savings scheme introduced by the Government of India. So, particularly, Ministry of Finance introduced this scheme in 1968, and it's a scheme, attractive scheme, which offers interest rate returns, interest based returns, and income tax benefits. So, these are the things which makes the PPF investment instruments an attractive investment tool for investors. So let's look at some features like what PPF account usually offers. So PPF account comes with a tenure of a maximum minimum of 15 years, so which can be extended in a block of 5 years as per your wish. And in terms of investments amount, if we consider like what are the minimum and the maximum amount that you can invest, so minimum amount required is 500, and the maximum here is rupees 1,50,000. So you can claim these deductions on your income tax as well, which we'll come to later, like what all tax benefits does these instruments offer. But these are the limits for your investments per se. And in terms of, I would say that deposit frequency, a person can deposit in a minimum of one installment, or they can deposit in the frequency of 12 installments in a financial year. And in case their account remains like they are unable to deposit money for a certain amount of years, so they can always reactivate their account by paying the penalty, and they can pay the amount that the minimum 500 needs to be paid on the basis of a yearly, like whatever supposedly were not able to pay the amount for supposedly 2 years, so you have to pay the penalty for 2 years, and you have to pay the minimum of amount, that is the 500 into 2. So you have to pay 1,000 rupees to reactivate your account. So these are some of the things which we need to consider while these are some of the basic criteria, I would say, that the PPF account offers.
Great. So I think everyone who's here, I think today's session is going to be very much pointed. So be ready with your pen and paper or your phone or whatever you want to make your notes in, because this is a detailed session, guys. This is exactly what you would want to know when you go on the internet to learn about an instrument, right? So, coming to the next question, Priya, the next question is, what is the eligibility to open a PPF account or invest in one, and what are the documents that one should be ready with?
All right. So that's a great question, because we need to consider like whether we are eligible for an instrument or not, because it's a very important criteria to say. So in terms of eligibility, I would say a person needs to be an Indian, like a resident Indian individual, and if they want to open an individual account, they need to be above the age of 18 years. Their parents or guardian can also open an account for their minors as well. and there is no upper age limit. So the for the individual account, the lower age limit is said that 18 years is required, but there is no upper age limit. So if someone wants to open a PPF account in any part of their life, so they can always do that. And for the NRIs and HUFs, so these two categories, like people who fall under these two categories, are not eligible to invest into PPF. So we always usually get this question, that I'm an NRI and I want to invest in PPF. So can I do that? So the NRIs are not allowed, but in cases where a person has invested into PPF and became an NRI after some period of time, so they can continue to invest into this scheme till the I would say the maturity period, that is of 15 years. So they cannot extend use the facility of extension of 15 years that is available, but they can continue the account till the 15 years of time period. And another thing which I would like to mention is that one person can open only one account in their name, and there is no facility of joint account when it comes to PPF. So usually we get the facility in bank accounts that you can avail a joint account and everything. So in PPF, a person needs to have an individual account, and the maximum deposit limit is 1,50,000 per se. And let's come to the, I would say, the documents required in case of PPF. So one needs to fill the PPF account opening form, that is the form A. Then you need to fulfill the basic requirements that you submit for any bank account, that you need to submit your ID proof, your passport, your PAN card. Passport is like an additional requirement that one can submit, but the basic ID proofs can be submitted, like your PAN card, Aadhaar card, address proof, and two passport size photographs. And if someone wants, so one thing which we very highly recommend is the nomination form. So whenever you are making any investments, it's very important for you to and fill the nominees in the form, because in case of anything, it helps in ensuring that the assets are transferred smoothly. So nomination form is a very important thing which you can't miss here. So these are the documents required to open a PPF account.
Great, great. Okay, Priya, so I have a question following to what you just answered. That you said that only one person can have a single PPF against their name, right? And this is the question that I have seen coming on the community a lot. That if person A has an account in their name and they want to open an account for their child, so will that be open under the minor's name or will that be allowed to be open under their name as a guardian?
So they can have an account for their minor in their name. So the details will be, I would say, the PAN card and the everything details will be on the person who is, the guardian's name or the parent's name. And the limit to their investment is 1,50,000. So that needs to be, I would say, kept in mind, because we can't exceed the deposit limit and the
Absolutely.
documents. So yeah. So I hope this answers your question.
Yes, definitely. And I think this answers all the all the people who have actually asked this question on our community. And moving forward from this question comes the main question. It's like a drum roll. What are the
Yeah.
tax benefits that you get in your EPF account?
All right. So this is a very interesting part, because everyone, when they plan their investments, they want to know what tax benefits the instrument offers. So in case of PPF, PPF comes under the category of triple E, that is the exempt, exempt, and exempt. So whatever amount that you deposit is exempted from income tax. The interest that you earn and the return that you earn, the corpus, that is accumulated corpus, all three things are exempted from the income tax. So that is why the triple E category applies here on these income tax on the PPF account. So you can claim a deduction of 80C every year under the income tax act, and you can claim a maximum of 1,50,000 on a yearly basis if you invest into this instrument. And the interest that you earn also is exempted from tax, and the corpus that you avail, that is after the period of 15 years, that is the maturity of PPF account, whatever amount that you receive, that is also tax free here.
Awesome, awesome. I think this has answered uh, everyone who has been here to know the tax implications, because I feel tax planning is something that really is one thing that we cannot ignore, right? We have to have the tax planning done right from the very beginning. So, thank you, Priya, for answering that. And the next part is also something that is very important, because when we look at a long term instrument, before even investing, we see that when can we take that money out? how
Yeah.
easily is it can it be liquidated, right? So
Uh,
what are the withdrawal rules when it comes to a PPF?
Okay. So in case of a PPF account, one can, so firstly, they can withdraw the amount in case of certain conditions. So there's a premature withdrawal and the normal withdrawal. So PPF account comes with two things. So if a person wants to withdraw the money, they can withdraw after the end of 6 years. Then there is a condition that a person can withdraw up to 50% of the balance that is at the fourth year, end of fourth year, or the preceding financial year. So whichever amount is lower, so they can, it's like a lot of formula, but overall I would say that a person is allowed to withdraw the money after the end of 6 years. And if they want to, prematurely close the accounts, then there are a lot of things that if a person wants to go for a higher studies, or if there are certain conditions that, in case of a medical emergency or illness, serious illness, that the person needs money for themselves or their child, spouse, or the dependent parents or anything, so then they can withdraw the money that time. But the interest rate here, then in case of premature withdrawal, the interest rate will be 1% less.
Okay.
So that is also one thing. And one more feature that PPF account offers is that you can take the loan also on the PPF investments. So whenever you are investing in a PPF, and there are certain conditions that at a certain point of time you may need to have, avail a loan, and you think that your investments can help you avail some. So then PPF account can come into place. So between the third and the sixth year, you can avail a facility of loan in the PPF account, and this facility of loan is very, helpful in some cases. I would say the interest rate will be whatever the interest that you are earning on your PPF account plus 2%. So supposedly 7.1%. So the loan interest rate will be 9.1%. So this
All
is
right.
how it works, and you have to repay the amount in the 36 months time period. So the time is also defined of a 3 years.
Okay. So is it like a fixed time or is it variable? The
No, no.
36
The
months?
maximum allowed is 36 months. And if
All
you are
right.
in a position that you want to repay it earlier, so that is also allowed.
All right. All right. Awesome. So, I see a question from Amrita here, and that is exactly what I had asked you, that one PAN card can have only one PPF account, or can it have multiple PPF accounts, one for self and other PPFs for children?
Okay, so hi Amrita, firstly. Hope you are doing well. And to answer your question, you can open, so the I would say the one account, one person is a category for an individual account, I would say. But if you want to open an account for your minor through your PAN card, then it is also allowed. So hope it
Awesome.
answers
Amrita, we
your
hope that
question.
answers your question. And moving on to the next part of your PPF journey, who should ideally invest in a PPF account?
Okay, so this is like a very interesting question because we always get, that there are these many instruments, and whether should I invest or not. So I would say that, in case of a PPF account, the person who has a lower risk appetite, or the person who wants a fixed rate of returns, and since it's a government backed scheme, so it has a sense of security and safety. So it can form a particular portion of your debt portfolio. So it can't be the entire thing, but if we always suggest that people should have their portfolio at some part of it in equity and some part of in debt. So this instrument can actually form a part of your debt investments.
Awesome. Well, anyone who's looking to fill in their debt portfolios, this is the right place to come and learn about it, because we're
Yeah.
giving you exactly the right information that you would require. Great. So we'll take up the last question for PPF, Priya, and then we'll take up the questions that we have received from our audience today. So the last question for your PPF is, how and where can you open a PPF account?
Okay. So, so we have now figured out what is PPF and what is the eligibility, what are the features it offers, the tax benefits and everything. So let's come on to how and where you can open an account. So there are two ways. One is the physical mode and the other is the online mode. So in case of a physical mode, you can visit the bank or the post office to open a PPF account. You will be required to submit the documents as I mentioned previously, and you can open an account that way. And the other way is through the online facility. So these days all banks are offering the net banking facility or a mobile banking facility, so you can directly visit your bank's website and then you can open a PPF account. But before investing, make sure whether the PPF account is for you or not, because everything needs to be kept in mind. Like, it comes with a maturity of 15 years. It offers, so currently the interest rate is 7.1%, but the interest rate also keeps on changing every quarter. So the government decides these interest rates. So keep these factors in mind and then make your decisions.
Great. So I hope that answers the question for everyone who's looking to open a PPF account. And I think Priya has covered everything in depth, like what all things you need to take care of before going for your PPF account, while you are invested, how to withdraw your money, the tax implications, and ideally who should invest in it also, right? So anyone who feels that they want to go ahead with PPF and still has any doubts, please feel free to reach out to us, and Priya can again run you through exactly what she just helped us out here with.
Yeah,
So with that, we wrap up the PPF segment for the day. And Priya, we have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you before we move
sure.
on. So we have Preeti's question here. Hi Preeti, thank you for joining in.
Thank
So
you.
Preeti has asked that so you can actually get a personal loan at about 9.5 to 10%.
Yeah. Yes, Preeti, the personal loan is available, but in certain cases, if a person, wants to avail a loan from their investment, so this is like an additional facility which is available. So it's up to, I would say, the individual, like whether they want to take this, opt this facility or not. But it's, there for in certain cases, if you want to avail, so it's there for you. Otherwise, you all have different options to avail the loan. So one can all obviously select and choose as per their convenience, I would say. So
Great.
I hope it answers.
Great. Next, we have a question from Akshata, and she's asking. Before that, hi Akshata, thank you for joining in. Akshata is asking, how is 15 years calculated? Is it from the day we invest, or is it the 15 financial years?
Okay, so hi Akshita. To answer your question, the PPF account comes with a maturity of 15 years, but the 15 years are calculated as 15 full financial years. So, supposedly, if you start your investments in, I would say, July, so the 15 financial years will be calculated. So, supposedly, July 2021, I would say. So, your financial 15 financial years will be calculated from July, 1st April 2022. So it won't be calculated from 1st July, it will be calculated from 1st April 2022. From then, the 15 full financial years will be taken up. So it will be actually like 15.75 years of investments. But you will get the interest rate. So that is not the thing. You will get your interests on your account.
Great. So, Akshita, we hope that answers your question as well. Moving on, we have a comment from Rebecca who's saying, I tried to open PPF with HDFC, but there's no online option. Looks like I need to visit the branch directly.
So Rebecca, there might be some conditions wherein the banks may not offer this facility, but you can always visit them physically and get the account open. But these days, what I have seen is that banks are offering various facilities online, and due to COVID, also we have seen that a lot of facilities that were not offered online have been started. To give the ease of convenience to the people, they have started the facility of online investments as well. So, like we mentioned last time, also that if you want to invest into APY or NPS, so that is also kind of available through your bank accounts. So,
Great.
hope it answers. And if you
Yes.
need any help, you can always contact us.
Awesome. We have a question from Amrita, and Amrita is ready with a case study for you, Priya. She's like,
That's
girl,
great.
I'm gonna ask you a question and you better answer it, okay?
I'm
So
happy to answer.
the question here is, um, I opened PPF when rate was 7.5%. Will it keep changing as per government's decision every time?
Yeah. So to answer your question, Amrita, so government decides these interest rates on PPF based on the government bonds interest rates. So every quarter, the government announces interest rates for the fixed income instruments. So these supposedly for 20 April 2021, or to I would say recently, the interest rate is fixed at 7.1%. So for this quarter, it will be like this, and after the quarter ends, the government will again send you a revised interest rate. So accordingly, your returns also keeps on fluctuating. And in case of PPF, one more thing I want to highlight here is that you get your interest. The interest is compounded on a monthly basis here. So keep that in mind.
Great, great. So we have a follow-up question from Akshita, and I believe we have really motivated her to open a PPF account. And that's why her question is that what if I open it tomorrow? How will it work? And Akshita, if it's true that we have motivated you, do let us know in the comment section that it's because of the live that you want to open an account. And she also has asked how often does the interest rate change?
Okay. So currently, as I was, getting ready and everything, so I read the news on my phone that the interest rates have been kept unchanged by the government. So currently for the next quarter also, the PPF interest rates have been kept as 7.1% only. So if you are planning to open an account, you will get an interest rate of 7.1%. And in case of, okay, how often? So the interest rate change base is changed on a quarterly basis. So the government announces these interest rates, and you will be notified every time. So whenever you are an investor, you will be notified of all the changes. So just
Great.
okay, that's
Great.
great.
Awesome. So I think with that, we have finished all the questions for PPF.
Yeah.
So over to you, Priya.
Thank you so much. So, Chanchal, I'm going to ask you all the questions. So, we have covered PPF first, and now I'm going to ask you questions related to the Employees Provident Fund, right? So,
Awesome.
exactly, I want to know like what EPF is, like how does it work? So, can you explain us that?
Definitely. So if I have to describe EPF in a definition, it would be that Employees Provident Fund is a statutory benefit that is payable to the employees of our country. Makes no
Okay,
sense, right? It's too much to,
you have
it's
to
too
explain in the
complicated.
easier way.
I saw that coming. That's why I started with this. So if I have to break it down, basically EPF, that is Employee Provident Fund, is a scheme. It is the main scheme under the Employee Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952. It is a scheme under which money from employee salary is some part of it is taken, and the same contribution is taken by the employer. It's given by the employer, and both of those amount are actually kept with the employee provident fund. It's a fund that is created where both these contributions are put together. That contribution is invested, and after retirement this entire amount is given back to the employee. So during the course of your employment, whatever amount is taken out, it does feel like, okay, that was my part of salary that has gone away, but not like that's nothing to worry. It's all going to come back to you, and it's in fact something that is great because we often cautiously don't plan our retirement this early, right? But EPF is one of the tools that is actually meant to purely plan for your retirement, and this is the main scheme. EPF is managed by the EPFO, that is the Employee Provident Fund Organization, and this is the basics of your Employee Provident Fund, if I have to break it down.
That's great. So I hope all of you who are watching us, you have understood what PPF exactly is and how it works. So next, Chanchal, I have a question like, what is the eligibility for EPF for employers as well as for the employees? So how does it work?
So, for an employee, you just have to be an employee. Okay, that is your eligibility of getting an EPF. But there are a few things here and there which I'll explain as I proceed. So when you're an employer, if your organization has more than 20 members, you have to have EPF for all your employees. Okay, like you cannot escape from that thing. Second, if your employees have a salary below rupees 15,000 per month, those employees definitely fall under the category of availing an EP, like availing the option of EPF basically. There are organizations which have less than 20 members. Over there, the employees actually have an option to the employees as well as the employers have an option to voluntarily participate in this activity of creating their EPFs. And any employee who has more than rupees 15,000 per month salary can also voluntarily participate, provided their employers are also participating. If their employers are not giving them the option, then the best resort is what we talked about before, right? The PPF. Like if your employers are not providing it, you shift to PPF. But these are the basic criterias that one has to keep in mind when they're looking towards an EPF. That one, you have to be in an employer-employee relationship. Any employee with less than 15,000 per month salary, any employer with more than 20 members, EPF is compulsory. Anything beyond that, it's voluntary.
So that's great. So next question following up to this is like, what is the interest rate offered and how is EPF calculated?
So EPF, the interest rate currently that you're receiving on EPF is 8.5% per annum. And if you look at it, it's a pretty good interest rate compared to your other instruments. But again, we cannot ignore the fact that the lock-in is also pretty high. Although it's like 5 years lock-in, but when you talk about withdrawals, being not taxed, that is something that we look for a longer term, right? So we'll talk about it in depth later. EPF is actually calculated it's a very easy way of looking at it. So if you are in an establishment, 12% of your basic pay plus your clearance allowance plus your retaining allowance, that is something that is taken from your portion, okay? And often it happens that the 12% is taken from the minimum amount that is set as rupees 15,000 per month. So you'll see that in your salary slip, either the amount will be 1,800, that is standard, because here your minimum amount is taken into consideration, or if it's a variable amount, for example 1920 or 2012, 2050, 3060, whatever, depending on your salary, that is a variable amount that is taken. So it is calculated as 12% of your basic pay plus durance allowance plus retaining allowance. Now there are some organizations which are special organizations, I would say. Over there, 10% is something that they take into consideration. That 10% of this amount is taken out. Here, from this total corpus, half is taken from the employee's account and half is taken from the employer's account. In the employer side, a little over and above is also paid, because they not only pay for your provident fund, but they also pay for your employee pension scheme. So sorry, that is something that goes without say, that is something that is like linked together. It's a complementary payment that is taken from your employer's side. So this is how your EPF contribution is calculated. So I hope that answers the question.
It does, it does. So in terms of, you explain like how it is calculated for employees per se, like how the deduction happens, but in terms of employers, like how their contribution is calculated and how is it divided? So could you answer?
So, definitely. So, there are different percentages according to which it is calculated. Now, like I mentioned, there's not just EPF to which your employer is contributing, they're also contributing to other segments, right? So, if you look at the EPS, 8.33% is actually contributed towards your EPS. If you look at employee deposit link insurance scheme, which is basically an insurance that is taken to take care and protect your amount that is being kept aside from you, somewhere around 0.50% of the amount is taken into that. Now there are admin charges, there are other costs that are associated, so those account to somewhere around 1.10 or 0.01%. So it's very minimal. It's like these other costs are very minimal, it's very negligible, but they do come into picture. But again, it's all, it's like it's everything that has been paid for your future. So if you would have actually for example, if you would pay like if you would invest in your mutual fund, right, you would be paying some expense ratio for to your fund managers for managing your account. You can consider it this way. So this is only like a cost to take care of your funds, because at the end you are not handling where your money is being invested, right? Somebody is taking care of your money, somebody is investing it for you. So that is how the contribution percentages are divided.
Okay. So there's always a percentage of expense involved. Like we have in mutual funds, the expense ratio. So there's also, in terms of EPF, also we have this expense or the cost involved here. So
Definitely.
before proceeding to the next question, for those of you who are live with us, do send us all your questions in the comment section below. We are going to just take up the basic questions first, so you have the understanding of how the instrument works, and we're going to take up all the questions that you send related to EPF, PPF, or any other retirement instruments per se. So keep shooting your questions. And for those of you who have joined us live, do drop a hi in the comment section below, and we can start with the session also with you guys. Okay, so Chanchal, my next question is that we have heard about a term called UAN. It's like something related to PPF. So what exactly UAN means, and how to operate the EPFO website? So if we have to go, visit the website, and so how do we do that? How do we check our balances and everything? So can you help us with it?
Definitely, definitely. So, first I'll talk about the UAN piece. So, UAN is Universal Account Number. What happens is that the very first time when you open a PPF account with your with your employer, you get an account number that is known as the Universal Account Number. Now, why it is called a universal account number is because when you change your employment, for example, today I'm working with company A, my universal account number is 123. Tomorrow, when I decide to change my company and go to company B, if I drop that EPF account and go and open a new account, this account will get like this account will close after one point of time because of the lack of contribution, and I'll have to withdraw the money, which will then lead to me facing tax implications, like levying of taxes on me, right? I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my employer A to transfer my EPF account to employer B, and because this account number is known as universal account number, this account number remains unchanged. This number
Okay.
does not change, and that is the reason it's called universal, because no matter how many employers you change, this account remains the same. And it is advised that if you are changing your employment, please get your EPF account transferred, because first of all, it's completely hassle free. It's nothing that you have to do. You just have to give them your EPF account number, and the HR does takes care of all the paperwork. And secondly, you don't fall for any like there are no tax implications on you when you do that. Third, you don't break the compounding effect on your money, right? Because you have been investing for a long time. For example, if you have worked for 10 years, almost a decade, you don't want that the flow of compounding stops over there, because like we previously talked about, right, how much compounding can impact your contributions. So um, so that is the other thing about UAN, the Universal Account Number. Talking about the EPFO website, I think the best thing that the government can do for us is give us a website which does everything. Okay, trust me, guys. EPFO website is the best place that you can go, and you can get all your work done. How you operate is, if you are new to EPF, you have to go there and you have to activate your UAN. It is not activated from the very beginning. How it's activated on the website is that you have to provide your full name and your Aadhaar card number. That is when they'll give you the UAN and it gets activated. Once it's activated, you can go on the employee portal, and there you can create your user ID and password. And from there, you can actually access your passbook, the EPF passbook, where your entire contributions are mentioned. It mentions which employer has contributed and how much money is taken from your account, how much money they have contributed. In fact, they even show the percentages that this much has gone into EPF and this much has gone into EPS. So it's a very user friendly website. I would say there are options where you can send in requests to withdraw your amount. If you want to withdraw if you want to withdraw your amount from your PPF, you can do it directly from there. If you want to check your balance, there is a small pop up right, I think towards the right, bottom right of your page, which tells you the different ways through which you can check your EPF balance. So it tells you about the SMS facility, it tells you about the missed call facility. So it's a overall a very good website, I would say. So do check it out. If you find any trouble, you can take a screenshot of that, you can post it on the community, and we'd be happy to guide you through that. And if not us, you can always call to their call centers also. They have their own numbers provided, and you can get it sorted over there.
Okay, that's great. So I think this website is like a transparent way. It's very easy, convenient, and transparent also for the users, so that they can know like where their investments are, what is the current value, and what amount is being transferred every month. So all the details are there in this website. So for those of you who want to know, do check it out. Do log in with your credentials, and you will get all the details there. So, Chanchal, should I take up all the questions? We have a couple of them in the chat. Or do you want to? Okay.
Definitely.
So we have a question from Samriddhi. She's asking, "Hi Samriddhi." So she's asking, "Is there a percentage fixed on EPF?"
So, hi Samriddhi. First of all, what percentage are you talking about, the interest, or are you talking about the division of contribution? But I'll answer both for you. So, your interest is are not fixed; they do change. So earlier, I think a couple of years back, the interest rate on EPF was somewhere around 7.9%, and recently, for 2019 20, 2020 21, and even now, the percentage has been, the rate of interest has been your 8.5% per annum. So that does change as the government decides. The Okay, so you've cleared it. It's the division of contribution. So the division has not been changed; it has been fixed, because these are certain costs, so they don't usually change it. So yeah, the division remains unchanged.
Okay, she has a follow-up question that has her own business, and she wants to know how much should I put in EPF. So what's your
So Samriddhi, since you are the owner of your business, the EPF does not apply to you, because the EPF is a facility that is that is provided to the employees of your business. So if you are looking for determining the amount that you want to actually put towards your employees account, that is something that you will have to check with your compliance, that as per your business, what is the the percentage is fixed, it's 12%, but depending on the type of organizations. So as of my understanding, public sectors have to adhere to the 12% of basic pay plus dearance allowance plus retaining allowance. But if it's a private sector, you can actually have the variable component, the one that I talked about. No, I meant to my employees. Exactly my point, Samriddhi, that you will have to get it checked from your compliance, that what that percentage that you're applying, how much you can apply, and to what, I would say, the what base, like exactly what base you have to take. And secondly, you also have to check the other criteria that I mentioned, right, during eligibility, that if you're falling in the less than 15,000 per month salary towards your employees criteria, or your number of employees in your organization. So those are also a few things that you'll have to get it checked. But I think instead of us giving you something, you should always get it checked from a proper compliance team, because they would know your business model better than us right here.
Okay. So you have answered her question very nicely, and we have a lot of questions. And I saw you got distracted also with a couple of
Yeah.
questions. But I'm gonna ask all of you one by one. So we have a question from Preeti. Preeti, she's asking like, what if I take a sabbatical, and how long can it remain inactive before attracting tax or withdrawal?
So Preeti, I was actually going to cover this in the segment where I talk about the withdrawals. But since you've asked it, I'll just do it here, and over there we can save some time. So when you take a sabbatical, basically you are getting out of your employment, right? So for the next 30 days, the day you drop off, for the next 30 days, you can actually be okay. Like there'll be not that there's nothing that you'll be attracting. But once 30 days have been over, you will be liable to withdraw 75% of your amount. You have to take it out, and because it's been taken out, depending on the year in which you're taking it out. Like for example, so this is exactly why I wanted to cover it in the withdrawal piece, because there I'll talk about the lock-in and everything. So 5 years is the period for which you can, before which if you withdraw your amount, you are liable to tax. After that, the taxation piece differs as per the value of your contribution. Now, if you are taking a sabbatical within the 5 years of your EPF, you can withdraw 75% out of it, which will be liable to tax. And once 60 days are over, you have to withdraw the next 25%. And again, that a complete amount will be taxable. There are a certain exemptions, like if you are withdrawing that money due to critical illness or higher education of self or dependent, those in those cases there are some tax relaxations that are available, but otherwise this is the period for which unemployment will attract withdrawal or taxation on your contribution.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for answering that, Chanchal. And Preeti, I hope it answers your question. So, next question is from Hero. She is asking, in my CTC, employees and employer both are included. Is it the same process across all organizations, and payslip shows only employee contribution?
Well, Hiral, I have to tell you this. I'm not even kidding. Okay, I'm not saying it just for the sake of it. When I started my employment, not here, like my previous organization, I saw my payslip and I was like, ये क्या है? ये तो ऑफर लेटर में था ही नहीं. I am not kidding. This was my exact reaction because in my offer letter it showed that this is the employer's contribution, this is the employee's contribution, this is the total amount. And when I saw the payslip, I was like, is this a joke? What is happening? So I'll tell you what exactly happens. When it did take me a while to figure it out as well, but then this is how it happens. So when you say a CTC, right, CTC is basically a cost to a company. And when you say a cost to company, in the offer letter what they mention is that they show your contribution so that you know that in hand what are you going to get, and they're also going to include their contribution because that is the cost that is going to fall on the company. The company is liable to pay their contribution towards your ETF, right? So in your main amount, in your main offer letter, you will see two amounts given. One is employees contribution and one is employers contribution. And when you add both of them to all the other benefits that they are providing, the basic pay, the DA, and variable allowance, whatever, you will find the total CTC. That is the total cost that your company is going to incur. Okay, in your pay slip, when you receive a pay slip, you'll see only your contribution being made from your salary because that is your part. Whatever is the company's part is something that they have already deducted from their end. And that is the reason when you go for an interview or when you join a company, they say that this is the CTC and this is the in hand, because your CTC is the cost to company, which includes your group medic claim, your employer's contribution towards your PPF. If if you're in an employment which also offers NPS, then that, or if it's gratuity, or if it's ECIS, right? ECIS, right? Yeah. So these all contributions are something that are done on the back end and not something which is reflected on your payslip as of your employment's agreement. So don't worry. There is nowhere that your money is going, and that is one of the reasons I said that always go to your EPFO website, check your passbook. You will see that this is your contribution being made, which should be the same as per your payslip, and then you'll see the exact same contribution plus the other percentage that I mentioned for your for your EPS, and all of that amount will be shown in that same passbook. So don't worry. Priya, I think you're on
Sorry.
mute. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, thank you so much for answering, Chanchal. And Hiral, I hope your question has been answered. So, and Sai Deepika is commenting, that real story of everyone, CTC and payslip. So, we get you, we feel you actually. So, it's like, yeah, it's like an everyday story. But yeah, moving on for the next question. But before that, for those of you who feel that this life may be, helpful for your friends and family, do share it with them also so that they are also benefited with this information. And we're going to take up all the questions right now. So we have a question from Sai Deepika, and she's asking, is it good to add up more percentage into EPF rather than going for any other debt options?
Hi, Sai Deepika. So there are two things that I would like to add to this, like to answer this question. There are two things. One is that when you're looking at the percentage contribution towards your EPF, EPF is set by your employer. Okay, you cannot change that. If it's said that it's 12% of your basic pay, then it is 12% of your basic pay. What you can do here is you can opt for a VPF, that is a voluntary provident fund, which is also known as voluntary retirement fund. In that, you're eligible to increase your amount to 100% of your income. And income as in your salary, okay? Like this is completely restricted to salary that we're talking about. And EPF is an extension of your PPF. VPF is an extension of your EPF. So here you can always increase your percentage, and that is one way of going about it. But coming to the other half of your question, that instead of going to any other debt option, if we just like stay here, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Asset allocation is the key, diversification is the key. So that is one thing that we would say, that we know it's a safe instrument. We know that 8.5% is an attractive interest rate. But then also look at it this way. For 5 years, you cannot take out your money. After 5 years, if you take out your money, you are going to be taxed for some portion. Till retirement, you have to hold that corpus with you. After retirement, also, like you don't know when you're going to retire, right? So one is that, and secondly, the thing is that EPF is just one plan. You have a lot of option, and it's always advised to diversify your portfolio because of the other benefits that you reap. I mean, like 8.5% is a good amount, but then at the same time, you have to take care of your liquidity, you have to take care of your contribution. And the important part is that EPF is restricted to your salary, right? So if you're someone who earns income through salary, through investments, through rent, through dividends, in that case, debt portion is only taken care by your salary because you're contributing your entire amount. But what about the other amounts? So when you talk about managing a portfolio, you take into consideration your entire income and not just your salary. So that way you will have to anyway diversify, right? If you have a certain allocation strategy in mind. And like I mentioned, after one point you have to opt for VPF, and then it has its different clauses and everything. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, it does. So, Sai Deepika, I think your question has been answered. The only thing that I'll just cover it in brief that you need to consider is that always diversify your investments. Don't focus all your money into a one particular investments. You need to diversify because it helps you in managing the risk and getting returns as per the required expected return. So you can consider investing into different instruments. So there are in debt also there are multiple instruments. So you have debt mutual funds, you have fixed income instruments, you have tax-free bonds, and everything like you have EPF, PPF. So diversify your investments as per your requirements, and then you create your portfolio. So
Absolutely.
take up next question. It's from Mamta. She's asking like she has forgotten her EPF number from her old firm. It was a
Right.
2002 account. So she wants to know how can she know the UAN number of that account.
So hi Mamta, and trust me, it's very very common. Okay, like most of the people, like even from my batch when we started our jobs, there were people who were not even aware about the concept of UAN or EPF because it was something we were never taught in school, right, or in college
Yeah.
for that matter. So it's completely normal, and for that reason, um, the EPFO website is actually it's like a blessing to all of us. If you're for sure that your previous employer used to deduct your EPF, and in your payslip there was a EPF account that was EPF amount that was deducted. So the first source is your payslip. If you can go and check your payslip on the top, which gives all your details like the period of the amount, the name, and everything over there, you will have a UAN number mentioned. If in case you don't have access to that, go to your EPFO account, and there is an option. I'm not exactly sure what it says, but if you go in the employee service portal, there's an option which basically tells you to identify your UAN. How you do it is you put your full name, you put your Aadhaar card number. Once you do that, it will actually show you that hey, your UAN is this. So it's completely covered. Even if after that you fail to actually identify or determine your EPF number, or you can always get in contact with your previous organization HR. They will help you out. You can maybe try calling the EPFO website, the organization, and ask them like how to go about it. But I don't think you would have to do that much mehnat by the end. Your EPFO website and your payslip should do the work for you.
That's great. So, Mamta, I hope it answers your question. Do check out how you can, get your number back. And if you face any difficulty, you can always contact the authorities concerned. And, for those of you, for the lovely ladies who are watching us live, we have two facts to share with you, one about PPF and one about EPF that we'll share at the end of this session. So, stay tuned with us. Don't leave. And we have a question from Hiral. She's asking, can you throw more lights on taxable cases if continuous 5 years contribution will attract tax or not?
Okay, all right. So I think, Priya, we don't have to take up my questions anymore because we are going to answer everything here. But thank you, Hiral. Thank you for asking the question, because anyway, we had to cover the taxability piece later on during the session. So, okay, so if before 5 years you are withdrawing your amount, the employer's contribution and the interest on your employer's contribution will be taxed. One clause is that the employer's contribution must exceed 2.5 lakh rupees. That is when it will be considered in, that will be it will taken into the taxation piece. Sorry. Then comes your withdrawal after 5 years. So after 5 years, if you are withdrawing anything, you do not attract tax to your amount. Okay, there is a threshold of rupees 50,000 on your EPF, which will attract a 10% TDS as well. And after these taxations, you also get a tax benefit under section 80C up to rupees 1,50,000. That is like your basic thing. Now, this is the tax implication that has been going on right now. But there are a few recent developments that has been done in the EPF segment, and it is not yet taken into account because the effective date has been posted as 1st April 2022. But since this live is happening right now, I would like to throw some light on that piece as well. So what now? So now what these guys have planned, what have planned for your EPF account is that the contribution to your EPF above 2.5 lakh will be taxable. Any contribution that you make above that will attract tax on the returns that you generate. If your employer is not contributing, in that case, the threshold is exceeded to rupees 5 lakh, and till 5 lakh your contributions will not attract any tax on returns, but once you exceed that amount, your returns will start attracting taxes. From 1st April 2022, there will be two EPF accounts. One will be a taxable EPF account, one will be a non-taxable. So non-taxable EPF account is what we are already running with, and the taxable EPF account will be the one which is going to come in this threshold limits that I just mentioned. So this has been stated, and the date that with which they want to go ahead with is given as 1st April 2022. But still, let's see if any more developments come into picture and if anything else changes. And we'll ensure that whatever happens, we do a special live for you to explain the tax concepts to all of you, because we understand that it gets a little confusing because it's contributions, it's interest, it's this much here, that much here. It gets a little hazy in our head, right? So don't worry, we'll cover the whole taxation piece properly for you once we also get the final news, once we also get the final verdict out. So yeah, we'll take care of that.
Okay, that's great. So hope it answers all your questions, and we are going to take up everything in detail when the news is like when there's an proper announcement per se in terms of the rules. So we have a lot more questions on EPF, and I was hoping that we could cover other retirement planning instruments also, but we're going to take up these questions first. So we have a question from Amrita. She's asking, I paid EPF for more than 10 years and I wanted to withdraw money while on break for more than 1 year. So I got less amount than I expected. Not sure. So how much was the percentage? Okay. So
Mm,
Amrita, can you like ask us like what exactly your question is?
yeah. I mean, Amrita, I understand that you have contributed for 10 years, so you have moved on from the 5 year limit of taxation. You wanted to withdraw some amount while you were on a break for more than 1 year. Um, so again, like I mentioned, there are only special clauses where if you withdraw your money, you get tax relaxations. Otherwise, depends on what you're, if you know what you're withdrawing your money for. You got less amount than expected, and that is because you're not allowed to withdraw your entire amount. So that is also one thing that you have to keep into consideration. Not sure how much was the percentage. So I mean, it will be a little difficult for us to like sit and chat like this and identify it, because we need to understand what is the amount, what is your salary, how much is your contribution amount, how much has been accumulated, how many years have been taken, have passed with your contribution, how much have you generated over those years, what is the reason you withdrew your money, was there any tax implication that fell. So it's a little into personal financing here when we talk about a question like this. So not sure if we should do it on a public live like that, but you can always maybe ask your HR to help you out here. If you have any CA who's looking out for you, you can always ask them by showing them your personal records that these are the things, can you please help us out. Maybe that should help you out there. So otherwise, if you have any conceptual question, we'd be happy to help with that.
Okay. That's great. So we have another question from Samriti. She's asking, do I as an employer get any benefit if I'm paying EPF for my employees?
You do. So you do get tax benefits under your business. Sorry, income. No, sorry, I'm saying something. I'm saying it wrong. Basically, when you're filing your income tax returns, right? What there are certain expenses that when you incur them under your employment, oh sorry, when you incur them under your employer-employee relationship, those expenses you can actually take as business expenses, and use it to deduct your total net income or total net profit, whatever you're showing from your business account. So yeah, you do get benefits in your EPF as a employer
Employer.
as well.
Okay, great. So we have a request from Sai Deepika. She wants us to put a one pager on the community. So really, regarding the recent developments of EPF, so Sai Deepika, your request is accepted. We'll keep this in mind and we'll float out a one pager in the community as per the news. So I think we have taken up all the questions here.
Amazing.
So let's come out. We have the special segment of the two important facts or the fun facts about one is about EPF and one about PPF. So we'll take up that, but we'll just take up few minutes to explain what other investment instruments that you can use to plan your retirement. So stay tuned with us for some more time. So let's get to what are the other instruments. So firstly, there are multiple instruments like gold. You have okay. So we have a question from Amrita. She's saying that sorry for little out of the track questions. As per government decisions, does ROI keep changing for Sukanya account as well? And in Sukanya account, daughter is the sole owner of the amount. What is the case of minor ETF who owns the money? Okay. So, Sanchit, would you like to take up the first question, like in terms of Sukanya Samriddhi account? Is there like, are you aware that the interest rate keeps on changing or is it fixed?
So the interest rate for Sukanya has been consistent for quite some time now. Although historically, I would have to go and check if it has been changed, but I believe that the amount does not change very frequently for such schemes, because for the longest we know it has been in that 7 point something percent, And but since you've mentioned, we'll definitely check it and we'll get back to you. But if right now you're planning to invest, I don't think the amount has other percentage has changed over the last 4 5 years, I feel. So you can take the benefit of the recent interest rate that you have, because it's definitely compared to what you get from your banks.
Okay, so taking up the another question. So in case of minors PPF account, so we had I think another question asking us to explain what minors like how it works. So anyone, any parents or guardian can open a PPF account for their minors. So the investment limit clubbing together like their investments as well as for the minors is like limited to 1,50,000. And in case they can open an account in the name of the minor, and after the minor turns the age of 18, they can have the minor can the person can actually operate their account on their own. So the investments is in the name of the minor, and after reaching a particular age, the amount is officially transferred to their the main account, or the name is transferred to the child, or the I would say the investment holder.
Okay.
So
Just one thing, Priya, I would like to add. Amrita, since you had asked that question, right? I was not having an answer. I just checked it right now, and my bad. It does change. It does change very often, and I think the current percentage is going on for 7.6%, and this has been consistent since April 2020, and before that it was 8.4. And before that, the previous year before that, it was 8.5. So yearly it has been changing. So yeah, the ROI does change. I think I might have gotten confused with some other saving scheme which does not change, probably some post office scheme. So here it does change. It has been changing for the last 2 years. On every April of the financial year, as it changes, the percentage has changed. But currently it's 7.6%, and that is still compared to, like I said, other bank accounts, a very good percentage to get. So if you're planning to keep some amount for your girl child aside, it's a very good investment option.
that's great. Thank you so much. So I hope Amrita, your question has been answered. And for more, if you have any more questions, you can always put it in the comment section. And as we were discussing about the other retirement investment instruments, so we'll discuss it in terms of the asset classes. What all other asset class we have? So we were discussing about EPF, PPF. So these comes under the debt category. So under the debt, you have different instruments as well, like long term FDs, bonds, or tax-free bonds, or any other fixed income instruments. But apart from that, you have an asset class as gold. You can invest into equity, you can invest into real estate, and you can you can always diversify your investments per se. So in terms of gold, if we talk about it in brief, so gold offers you a long term, like in terms of long term, gold offers a good rate of return. It gives you a hedge against inflation. So we always keep the safety and security of a portfolio in mind. So gold actually helps us in terms of the markets are down, like they are not performing well, so gold always acts as like a safety instrument for you as per se. So apart from that, it offers you liquidity also. So if you are investing into a digital gold instruments, like we have sovereign gold bonds that are issued by RBI, then we have gold savings fund or the gold mutual funds that you can invest in through Lakshmi also. So you can invest through gold mutual funds to find downloading the app, and you can go into the invest section, you can find out all the details about that. Then we have the gold ETFs, then we have digital gold. So these are various ways where you can invest into gold. You can have the I would say the benefit of diversification, and it is usually said that you should keep 5 to 10% of your portfolio into gold. So you can manage like where all you can invest. And when you are selecting or having that confusion, because a lot of people have that confusion, because they have that physical gold thing that they need to keep buy gold in a physical format. So it comes with a lot of cost, I would say. There are costs involved in terms of the storage, the making charges, and everything. And there's a risk of theft and safety also. So it's better if you are planning to invest into it, do it in a digital format. We have different varieties of investments instruments available, so you can choose it as per your requirements, and it can help you in terms of planning your retirement. So next up instrument is very very important, which is the equity asset class. So equity as an asset class helps us a lot in retirement planning, and it gives us a lot of benefits in terms of compounding and everything. So I'll pass on the mic to Chanchal, and she'll explain you how you can have equity as an asset class in your retirement planning portfolio.
Great. Thank you, Priya. So, guys, when we talk about equity as an asset class for retirement planning, it is something which is actually very crucial while you plan for your retirement. And why I'm saying it's crucial is because in today's times, we don't wait for our retirement planning at the age of 40. We start planning for a retirement from the age of 22, 23, right? So when you are looking at these long-term traditional instruments like NPS, PPF, EPF, APY, you are obliged to stay invested till your retirement. Your vesting period is till your retirement age, and anytime you decide to take your money out, you fall under the tax bracket. Basically, you fall for two things: one, that you cannot withdraw all your money out, and second, that taxes are hovered upon your head. So these are two things that happen when we look at these traditional instruments. Now, since we are starting our retirement planning early at this age, it's important that we look at instruments which provide us liquidity. And since we're looking for a very long period, like if your intention is retirement planning and you start at 22, you're looking at a very long period for retirement. So, if in this long period you stay invested in traditional instruments which have a fixed return, you cannot, one, always would be able to beat inflation, and second, you would not be able to grow your wealth as competitively as the market is growing around you, the equity market is growing. And that is one of the reasons that equity plays an important role in your portfolio, because yes, equity does not guarantee returns, the returns are completely market linked, but at the same time, because the vesting period is so long, the risk is mitigated for you, and it is done very well. You What you have to do from your end is just keep revisiting your portfolio to ensure that there is no complete fall in your portfolio. You don't see any instrument which is giving you a very major fall, but apart from that, you're good to go if you're looking at a long term investment. That also solves a problem for market timing. You don't have to find the right time to invest in the market. If you know your investment is for more than 5 to 7 years, just invest your money at one go and you're done. You're good to go. You just have to sleep over it for the next couple of years. So when we talk about equity asset class, there are various instruments that you can opt for. If you're someone who's a little pro at investing, who understands the market, who understands the technical and fundamental analysis, you can opt for equity shares, because that is something that is your direct equity. You just have to buy and sell your units through your demat account. If you're someone who wants to reap benefits of a class of instruments, and sorry, you want to do it on your own, you can do it directly through your demat account through your ETFs. You can invest in equity ETFs or the other ETFs that are available, and you can reap the benefits through there. But if you're someone who's new to investing, who does not understand the crux of investing, you want to invest, but you're not sure how to, when to, what to do, and all those questions, equity mutual funds are the best option for you, because here you are pooling in your money, and there's a professional sitting taking care of your money. There's a professional fund manager who's sitting to actually look after your money and invest it in the right places. So that again becomes another option. And if you want some equity exposure through your traditional instruments as well, then NPS is something that you should consider, because in NPS you get an option to get the equity exposure. So this way, equity is something that you should definitely consider in your retirement portfolio. And even if you're someone who's planning your retirement later, like even after like at the age of 40 or something, it's worth having some money in the equity portfolio. Maybe not your 75 to 50% stake, but at least like a 10 to 15% would be something that would give some good returns to your portfolio, basically.
Okay. Great. So I hope everyone now understands what all investment instruments they can park their money in terms of planning their retirement. You can always check out our Lakshmi app. We offer time-based investment baskets in terms of mutual funds. So they are like a variety of mutual funds with a balance of equity and a debt. In terms of the time period, we have different portfolios. So you can always check out that. These are specially curated by the Anand Rathi research team, and these are well researched, managed, and actively rebalanced by them. So you don't have to worry about reaching your investments or monitoring your portfolio. So we are there. We at Lakshmi are there to handhold you throughout the process. You can always check out the app for it. And also, I would not take up a lot of time, so we'll wrap up this session. And okay, so we'll take up Amrita's question. She is asking, how about investments in silver? There was a post in our group, if I'm not wrong. So I think, Chanchal, you made that post, right, on silver ETFs. So
Right.
if you could answer that question to Amrita.
First of all, thank you, Amrita, for letting me know that yes, you did read it. It just feels nice when somebody acknowledges your work. And definitely, so silver ETFs is a new thing. The SEBI has given permission to mutual fund houses of India to actually roll out mutual funds that invest in silver ETFs. Your silver ETF investment is going to be exactly similar to your gold ETFs. The fund houses will be expected to hold some reserves under your some physical reserves of silver, excuse me, some physical reserves of silver before rolling it out to you. We know that for the longest, silver and gold have been the two precious metals that have been looked up for investments. And as a commodity, I would say that gold has been a precious metal, but it has been an expensive metal. Whereas silver has been a cheaper metal, and since it's used in industrial area for manufacturing products, it has always been a high in the market, right? And even though the commodities work in the same parallels, the dynamics of silver is extremely different. There's one more thing that actually I would like to highlight about silver ETFs is that right now the two commodities that has brought all the attention of investments in our country has been gold and crude oil. And because these two are highly exported, highly imported,
Okay.
the cost has always been high. The the price, it has always been a costly affair for us for investment. But on the other hand, silver, our country is abundant with silver reserves, and for that reason, if you have to come out with a silver ETF, it won't be a really costly affair. And with that said, the retail investors can actually look out for investing in ETFs, in silver ETFs, and at a good and a reasonable price, right? It won't be something too expensive that a retail investor might not be able to afford. And secondly, with the benefits of ETF, so up till now, the silver investments was done in two ways. One, in physical format, that was in bullions or coins or bars, or it was done through your futures in the commodity market. Not everyone is comfortable with the futures and commodity market. Even I think even I have never invested in the futures or commodities market because I'm not comfortable doing that. And talking about the physical part of investment, we are aware of the cost that comes with physical holdings, right? The cost of storage and the risk of storing your investment instruments. So in this case, the ETF actually solves a very major problem, and that is um, a very convenient way. Just open a demat account and invest through silver ETF, or through mutual fund houses you invest in silver ETFs. So a non-demat both holders can actually gain benefit from this. So this is the entire piece on silver investments. If you have more questions, you can always you can always ask the question on that post, and we'll be there to happily answer you.
Okay, great. Amrita, I think your question has been answered in a very detailed way, so I think you have understood everything. So I would take up. So let's finish up with the session. So we have been talking about the funds, like I would say the there. So we know now ki how you should plan for your retirement per se when you are starting your retirement planning. But what after the like when you retire, then there also at that particular point of time you require planning as to if you have accumulated an x number of x amount of money, then you need to know like how you are, allocating that fund so that you are utilizing it properly in your post retirement lives. There are other instruments as well which can help you in planning your post retirement life and the investments and everything. So if you want us to conduct a session on that, so we'll be happy to have a session or like a money hour for all of you here. So do let us know in the comment section below, and if you have any more topic that you want us to conduct a session, we'll be very happy to do that for you. And also, now coming on to the facts that I want to share about, so there's one fact about PPF that not many of us know. So it mentions that in case of PPF, the account cannot be attached to any debt or a liability. So in case, even if in case of a court order or anything like that, so in case if a person is not left with any money and there's a court order that has been passed regarding the repayment and everything for the liability, the PPF account, the amount that has been accumulated in the PPF account, it cannot be used to repay that. So that amount is actually kept as a separate account. So even if anything happens, your the amount of PPF which you have saved, that is actually safe. It's like in a safe place, and only you are the person who can withdraw the money. So this was an interesting fact about PPF from my side.
Definitely, I think not a lot of people know about this, and if you know anyone who's going through this situation where they have been fooled into getting their PPF account attached to some kind of collateral, tell them go and watch the Lakshmi live. You'll know what is happening.
True, true, true. And if you like this session, do share it with your friends and family, and do share your feedback also in the comment section below, so that we know how the session was for you, how we can improve further in our sessions.
Awesome. I have a fun fact about ETFs as well, but I have seen in the comment section we have got three feedbacks as of now, and the number of viewers that we have, I would really request if you guys can also send in your feedbacks and let us know how the session was, because we love to come here and talk to you every week, and it's a fun experience for us, and we hope it's a learning experience for you all too. So if we get to know that we have made some difference for you, it would always motivate us and it will always bring the better in us as well. So waiting for your feedbacks in the comment. Until then, the one interesting fact about ETF that I wanted to mention is that once you complete 3 years of holding an EPF account basically, you can actually withdraw 90%. Withdraw in the sense you can actually use 90% of your total contribution, which is your employee plus employee contribution, towards making the down payment of your home loan, and using the rest of the amount to pay your EMIs. So that is one thing about EPF, that if you're planning to buy a house and you do have a good corpus in your EPF and you feel that that is something you would really like to use up now because you want to save the amount of interest that you're paying because it's high or any XYZ reason, then 90% is what you can actually pick up from your EPF account. So let us know if you find these facts interesting or if you discovered it today as well.
Yeah,
Do
it
let
was
us know.
really great to know about these. And I think to conclude this session, we would just like to say that, whenever you are planning, you're thinking about retirement, it's better to start early. It gives you a longer time frame for your investments to grow, for you to contribute as well. So, you also have a larger time frame to contribute towards your retirement, and your investments also have the time to to get it compounded in terms of give you an inflation beating returns. So it is very important to consider retirement planning, and we have all these sessions for this entire month. We tried to cover all the topics that we could in terms of planning your retirement, what it is, why is it important, and what all instruments that you can use to plan for your retirement. So I hope it helped a lot to all of you right here, and if it did, do let us know. And it is you should definitely start your retirement planning, I would say. It's very important so that you can continue to the lifestyle that you have right now. So if you feel that you want to sustain this lifestyle post retirement, or if you want to increase the standard of living post your retirement, it's important to save right now so that you can live happily at during your retired life.
Awesome. I think the moral of the story is start planning for your retirement. Don't waste any other day. So, yeah, I think with that we can end our session for the day. And we apologize, we have taken another 20 minutes than what we had promised, but we wanted to make sure that we answer all the questions and all the concepts are discussed, because we keep certain topics for each live and we don't want to waste your time by keeping multiple sessions on the same topic. And if you think anything has been missed, if you have any questions, you can drop in your question in the same post. You can drop in the question anywhere in the community and we'll be there to answer your questions. To ensure that we are always answering your question, you can tag three accounts: the Money Coach account, Chanchal Saxena account, and Priya Agarwal. You can always tag us there, so we'll ensure that we do get your notification and your post does not get unanswered. Because we receive a lot of questions in a day, a lot of questions, and it happens that we miss out a few because of the algorithm change on Facebook. So do tag us, so we will ensure that your questions are not going unanswered. And thank you for joining in and tuning in today. It was lovely speaking with all of you. We love the amount of questions you throw our way, because that just shows it how much we're able to connect with you, how much we're able to break it down for you. Thank you for acknowledging our answers. Thank you for sending in your feedbacks. It's really special. It's really nice to know that we're able to grow together. I think that is how I should put it, right? I don't want to sound too formal saying, oh, it was lovely. No, we are growing together. We are making the difference. This is how it's done. So thank you everyone for joining in. And just before signing off, I would like to say, stay safe, stay home, take care of yourself, take care of your families, and have a lovely week ahead. Over to you, Priya.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And I would like to say that our aim at Lakshmi is for all of you women to, to empower you to become financially fearless. So, finance should not be a topic which you can, shy away from, but it should be like a topic for your dinner table conversations as well. Because if you are at your home or anywhere, you should like what is going around, how it works and everything, and you should be managing your money on your own. So that's our aim at Lakshmi. We want you to take charge of your finances, and we want you to grow with us, as Chanchal mentioned, like in terms of your personal finance journey as well. And if you have not downloaded the Lakshmi app yet, you can always check it out. We have a learn module there, so you can, if you are a new person towards investing or towards your personal finance journey, you can always start that course. It can help you learn about basics of investing, what are the types, and how you can move forward it in terms of very easier way. So you can always check out that from the Google Play Store and the App Store, and we'll be there. We have the entire Being Lakshmi community there, so you can always ask your questions or anything. If you want to share related to money management, you can do that towards the app in just one click. So do let us know how's your experience been and everything, and stay tuned with us. We'll be coming up with another 1 hour live for you to answer your questions in a very interactive manner. So thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. See you guys and have a great week ahead. A good night and good weekend, because this week we are getting an off on Saturday and Sunday.
Have
All
a
right.
lovely weekend, everyone.
See you guys.